HDR gaming is amazing, especially when it works. When you open the game supports the system level calibration. You use HGIG, or you have a slider on the game and you select your 800 nits on this LG C1 and everything is beautiful. But unfortunately, that's not the reality. And we open games like this and we see washed out colors and a bunch of other issues. I know how to fix it. I'm gonna show you how to fix that problem, and I'm going to give you a summary of everything I know about HDR. So when you open a game, this is what you want. You want the game to have a sliders, so you can select, for example, on this LG C1, you can select 800 nits, and then you use HGIG. So HGIG on this LG C1 means no tone mapping on the TV. So that means we are telling the TV, hey, the game has up to 800 nits, so we can display that no problem. We don't need to do tone mapping. So we want that, or if the game doesn't have a sliders, we want the game to support the system level calibration on the consoles or on the PC. So on the PC, the system level calibration is very easy. We just come here to this HDR calibration app. Let me open that. So we come here, and the only thing we need to do, let me show you from the first screen. The only thing we need to do is we select 0 here on the first screen. We lower this to 0, and then we select 780 and 780. That's it. 780, 780 here, and then 0 next, and we save. So we want the game to support that system level calibration. So when we open the game, we select HGIG, and the HDR is beautiful, okay? But sometimes we don't have that. So when we don't have sliders on the game, and the game doesn't support the system level calibration, we need to take a screenshot, because what we need to do now is we need to do tone mapping on the TV, because the game is probably trying to output 1000, 4000, 10,000 nits. So when the game is trying to output more than what the TV can do, the TV needs to do tone mapping. So what is tone mapping? Tone mapping is basically when the game is trying to output 10,000 nits, the TV is gonna try to output 800 nits. Okay? So the TV cannot follow what the game wants to output because it is up to 800 nits. So the TV is going to follow the source until some point. So let's say until 250 nits, and then it's going to roll off. So it's going to output less, and at the top 10,000 nits, the TV is going to do 800 nits. Okay, that's what tone mapping is on a simplified explanation. Okay, not that I understand deeply what tone mapping is, but you don't have to. The only thing you need to know is what is the game max CLL. So the max CLL means what is the maximum brightness that the game is trying to output. So the way you can know that on your console or on the PC, take a screenshot. Very easy. Here on the PC, Alt F1, we take a screenshot, or we can use Windows Alt Print Screen. We take a screenshot with the game bar. Okay, so then we come here and we open the screenshot using this app. So this is called the HDR WCG Image Viewer app, and you can get that for free on the Microsoft Store. Okay, so let's say the game doesn't have sliders. This game does have a slider. So I selected here 750 nits. I take the screenshot and I see max CLL 750 nits. And here I selected 800 nits, and you see max CLL 839. So we take the screenshot, and let's say the screenshot is telling me 10,000 nits. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to come here to the settings, and if you have a different TV, you need to learn how to do this on that TV, or see what are the tone mapping options that you have. So then we select here, step on, or before that, we select here tone mapping off. Go here to brightness, HDR tone mapping, and we select tone mapping off. Okay, so this tone mapping off doesn't mean HDR tone mapping off. This should be called dynamic tone mapping off, but this is going to do tone mapping. So we select that, and then we come back here to select mode, and we're going to access this secret menu 11131111, and we change here the mastering peak and the max CLL to match what we see here on this app. So if we see here 10,000 nits, we select 10,000 nits and 10,000 nits. So for example, Horizon Zero Dawn on the PC is trying to output 10,000 nits. So that's how we fix that HDR. 10,000, 10,000, done. That's it. So if the game doesn't have slider and it doesn't support the system level calibration, we need to know what is the max CLL. We select tone mapping off, and we select the mastering peak and the max CLL to match that. You can also use dynamic tone mapping if you prefer an overall brighter picture. Sometimes it's dimmer, sometimes near black it is raised. I don't like dynamic tone mapping, and I never use it unless it is useful for black frame insertion. But that's a different video. But I never use it really. I use tone mapping off or HGIG. So now, what about the washed out colors? So for example, in this game, you open it and you will notice that there is something wrong with it, man. Something wrong with it. The colors are washed out. Okay, so we come here and we do a quick test just to see if this is the problem. We come here, brightness, and we come down to black level. So this is the range, really. This is the range. And we force limited range. And we see how that problem is fixed. So you see washed out, fix. Washed out, fix. But this is not the best option. What you would do, and this is much better, is you keep this at full and you lower the black level instead. So you lower this screen brightness or black level to 46. This is the best option, because lowering the black level to 46 is crushing the same amount on the black level as forcing limited, but it is not affecting the peak brightness. Okay, so if you were to force limited, if you're going to do this and force limited, then you cannot select on the game slider, you cannot select 800 nits. You have to select 500. So if I do this, I have to come here on the game and select 500 nits. Otherwise, you're going to clip the highlight. So you see here, I selected 500 nits. That's what you have to do. But you don't want to do that. You want to select 800, and instead of forcing limited, you want to just lower the black level. So here we are clipping the highlights. So we don't want that. Just lower the black level. So now, how I figured out this number, this 46, how do I know that this 46 is the same as forcing limited? Using a near black test pattern, what I do is I force limited, I see the amount of black crushing, and then I go back to full and I lower the screen brightness until I get the same results. And this is the number, 46. So the equivalent of this screen brightness 46 is fine-tune dark areas minus 16. So this is a better option, this fine-tune dark areas minus 16, because this affects the lower end of the gray scale. so you keep the mid-tones a little bit brighter. It's a very small difference, but this option is preferable sometimes. So you can use instead fine-tune dark areas. This is the problem that you see on almost every game. So for example, Cyberpunk, Red Dead Redemption, Immortal Phoenix Rising, Forza Horizon 5, so many games, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, The Amazing Spider-Man. Almost every game has this issue. The new, for example, the new Callisto Protocol, I haven't tested that game. Based on the videos that I've seen, same issue. So this is a problem that is happening again and again in almost every game. It's the same black level race. It's a problem with the RGB levels. Okay, that's how you fix it. So that's it. There's no other thing. So sometimes the game is perfect. Like for example, you see Rise of the Tomb Raider, or you see Uncharted 4, which is trying to output 10,000 nits, but the black level is okay. But it is a little bit raised. So in those games where the black level is okay, but you're still not getting perfect black, fine-tune dark areas, -5. That's the value, -5. So with those two options, I fixed all the games, and they all look the same. So if I compare SDR near black with the HDR, they look exactly the same. Okay, so of course we don't want this problem to happen, but it is a reality. There are some games that are perfect. Elden Ring, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, or Warzone 2, they are perfect HDR, no black level raise. But that is strange. That is something strange. So if you have a different TV, let me show you how you can figure out this black level value. So I'm gonna have a link in the description of the video with this near black test pattern. Okay, so you can use this near black test pattern. You max out the slider on Windows and you open this near black. Let me turn off the lights and show you this. So on this near black test pattern, you see that the visibility is perfect with fine-tune dark areas -16. But let me show you how this looks by default. So by default, it looks too bright. This is not supposed to be this bright. And the reason is, this is a video on SDR. And all the SDR, let me turn on the lights. So all the SDR content on Windows is limited. So let me show you what happened with this test pattern when I force limited on the TV. You will see how it gets fixed. Let me show you. This is too visible, too much, too bright. We force limited, so we have GPU full. We force limited on the TV, and now it is perfectly visible. You can see these two rectangles here. It is absolutely perfect. So now let me show you, if instead of forcing limited, if I just lower the black level. It's auto here. I lowered the screen brightness or the black level to 46. Take a look at that. It's the same near black crushing. So if you have a different display, that's what you're looking for. Let me show you fine-tune dark areas -16. So you see that is the same. The only difference is that fine-tune dark areas is affecting more. I'm gonna show you. So the fine-tune dark areas is affecting more this part of the near black test pattern. So it is keeping this part a little bit brighter because it is affecting the lower end of the gray scale. So it is better to use that instead for the games. I use here fine-tune dark areas -16, and it looks the same as forcing limited. You see? Same visibility. It is a little bit brighter here, but near black, the same. So if you have a different display, that's what you're looking for. You are looking to lower the black level until you can barely see this near black test pattern. That's it. That's it. So to summarize, on the games, you either have the game outputting the capabilities of your display if you have the option to turn off tone mapping on the display. That's the best option. So the game, the signal is in range already. The display doesn't have to do tone mapping. You get the best results. That's HGIG. But if that is not an option, so if the game doesn't have sliders or the game doesn't support the system level calibration, then you need to figure out what is the game trying to do. And after you know that, you select tone mapping off, you go to the HDMI signaling override menu, and you select master in peak and max CLL equal to the game. How can you figure that out? You take a screenshot of the game. I closed it instead. So you take a screenshot of the game, you open that with the HDR WCG image viewer app, and you see here max CLL, and you see it. So you see it's 4000, then you go master in peak max CLL 4000 tone mapping off, and what that means is the TV is doing tone mapping with a 4000 nits target. 4000 is the default, so you wouldn't even need to go there and force the value. So we shouldn't have to access that secret menu. The reason why we have to is because the TV is not detecting what the game is trying to do. So what is happening is that the TV is not able to detect, and it defaults to null. So what is happening here is this, null. So the TV doesn't detect the source for some reason. It is null, and null is 4000. That's the default on this TV, 4000. So by default it's 4000. So if the game is trying to output 4000, you don't have sliders, it's gonna work and you don't even need to access this secret menu. But if it's a different value, you just change it here, and there you go. You're all set. Let me know if you have any questions. Oh, before I end the video, for every single auto, so everything we've talked about is native HDR, but for every single auto HDR supported game, this works. The HDR calibration app works, and you need to use the same fine-tune dark areas -16, or alternatively a screen brightness 46 or black level 46. You have to do that for every single auto HDR supported game. It's the same problem, same issue. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions.